Good morning, everybody. My name is Darren Gillen, and I wear many hats in my digital youth work journey. Currently, I am the National Digital Development Lead at YMCA Scotland, but I'm also the National Digital Development Inclusion Officer at SCVO. And I do some consultancy work with my own digital community enterprise company called Team G. And throughout all of those various hats, part of the work that I've been doing over the last 12 months or 18 months is developing several makerspaces across Scotland. And there are 4 key areas. So if you think of a house and the foundations of a house, the 4 corners of a house, these are the 4 areas that you require in order to have a fully functional, meaningful makerspace. If you take one of those 4 corners away, you would certainly weaken the foundation of the program or the outcome or whatever it is you're looking to achieve in terms of your digital youth work. If you take one of them away, it could all collapse. Now, the reason for that is the 4 areas that we're looking at overlap and rely on each other. They are intrinsically linked to each other. And so the 4 areas that I have discovered through developing makerspaces that are maybe very small or very mobile with very little resource, all the way up to quite large buildings that cost up to £1 million in your high-end type makerspaces, is one is educational theories and pedagogy approaches. So basically your theory. And that's an important part. And that's the bit that I usually start off with, because typically within a lot of people and organization who introduce or develop makerspaces kind of focus more heavily on the other 3 areas that I'll talk about, and maybe less so on the theory and the kind of background. And if any of you are community development workers who have learned by doing community development, being a youth worker or a community worker, and then decided at some point in your journey that you were wanting to go to university, you would have learned a huge amount of theory to back up and underpin and understand some of the interactions and challenges that you have within your community work and why those things happen and how to address that. So equally, it's very important that you have a theoretical approach to areas such as constructivism, design thinking, project-based learning, connected learning, and universal design. And these are just some of the theories that would be really good and beneficial for any makerspace to introduce as part of any programs that you're going to do. Second area that you would be looking at as skills and capacities of your staff, of your volunteers, of your mentors, anybody who's going to be involved in the makerspace. You need to upskill them, because it's a very unique, in some ways niche set of skills that are required that have some overlap with universal digital, has overlap with universal youth work. But because there's a lot of technical and a lot of digital aspects to it, and the way that you introduce some of these things, concepts and theories and programs, there is a certain basic requirement of skills and capacities that are needed. So when you've got a new volunteer, such as what we just heard, there is a basic level of skills that needs. So there's going to be technical skills required. As we've already said, theoretical, pedagogical skills required, collaboration skills. These people need to be creative and innovative, problem-solving skills, and part of that skills capacity is very important that you are inclusive and very diverse in terms of the volunteers and the staff and facilitators that you're going to select as part of this. The next part would be practical things, your nuts and bolts. So things like a physical space. Is your makerspace going to be in a room or in a library? Or is it going to be mobile, where you can pack a whole bunch of items into the back of a car or a van and take it about from one place to another? Of course, you'll need equipment and tools, whether that be 3D printers, whether that be laptops. Connectivity is certainly important, whether it be in a fixed place or whether it be in a mobile situation. You'll need a set of safety protocols, access to resources, staffing, and of course, funding and sustainability, because it will all need to have some form of full cost recovery in order for the full thing to work. So those are more of the kind of practical aspects that are required within a makerspace to be set up. And then you've got your last part, which is your programs, your workshop, your training, the body of content that you are planning on facilitating and delivering. Now, that's not just for your staff and your volunteers, but also for your young people. So are you going to be planning on delivering things like equipment training? And that's a whole program in itself. If you're going to teach young people how to use a 3D printer or a laser cutter, or how to do coding programs, the theory that are behind that, so the kind of teaching and learning and educational programs of the context as to why young people should learn on these pieces of equipment, so that they can develop, a sense of enterprise and develop some kind of transferable job skills and employability. And then there's things like design thinking workshops, where you get programs where typically within makerspaces, you are looking at problem solving. So you're looking at situations that are happening currently within their communities or in the world, whether that be something to do with the impacts of the environment in their local area and how they would use their makerspace and the equipment and the theories and things that they've all learned to put together some form of solution. So those are the 4 areas that we are going to kind of focus on and look at and tease out a bit more. So the theoretical understanding, the skills and capabilities of your staff and your volunteers that are required, the practical nuts and bolts of what is required to build a makerspace and fit it out, and the programs and the workshops and the body of content that you would be delivering within these makerspaces.